All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. I'm AJ, joined with Jamie, and we're welcoming back Matt, who was taken ill last week.
Yeah, I was done for.
And we're very thrilled to have the heartbeat of positivity in the Star Wars fandom here with us.
Wow.
Michael, aka Rexing Around. How's it going?
Wow. Thank you. That was so unbelievably nice, especially because of the crazy morning we just went through. Thanks for bearing with me as I cool down from running around the studio.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not even joking. Seeing his setup for the past 5 minutes alone, I'm just like, is everything all right? And it's 100% on brand.
Everything is not all right. Let me tell you, I came in expecting that the set would be in the same configuration as where I left it, but it was all neatly packed up and put away. And that's just not expected for this set. It's normally in pure chaos and ready to be recorded on. So
it was too neat for you.
Yeah, and I sidebar this early on. We just hit record, but let's go on a journey. The Kessel Run transmission guys, they use this set as well. And yesterday, I started my podcast again, and I jumped in, and I was like, whoa, I have not podcasted here for 3 months, and the Kessel Run guys have kind of destroyed the set. And so I was like, oh my goodness, okay, well, let me get it, at least recordable. And I came in this morning, and they have completely cleaned the set top to bottom, which I was not expecting. And I had to set everything back up. So I'm very grateful that they cleaned the set. But it ended up being to my dismay.
They took that personally. I rewatched it. I watched the episode this morning with you and Greg, getting ready for this just so I could experience the chaos beforehand. And
wow.
Yeah, I was laughing at how every other word was, yeah, KRT did this. And you're just touching the plant. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Sorry about that.
It's good. I'm glad they clean up after themselves. So that's great.
Very nice.
AJ, what are we talking about today?
We will be talking about the Bad Batch in a little bit. We'll be getting to our question of the week just in a moment. But I just wanted to say to Michael, we've been following you kind of for a couple of years. We're a big fan of your work in the Star Wars community. As I've already said, all positivity, all fun. Jamie, a couple of years ago, showed me the videos you and Greg and the gang make, and we just laugh at them all the time. And it really is an honor to get you on the show. I was glad when I reached out, I was able to get through to you. So,
wow. Well, first, thank you so much. That's unbelievable, and it's always odd. I don't want to slam us too hard. It's hard. It's odd to find people who really love what we do. I know that sounds weird because we do it. Sometimes I think we get so wrapped up in seeing the not so great parts of the community and the not so great feedback that it's always so refreshing to meet really cool, like-minded people. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you for putting up with the kind of on and off that I was. Companies had a ton of growth. I just moved, so it's been a really crazy season, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely. Busy is good.
You.
So let's launch into the question of the week to break the ice here. So if you were a member of the Bad Batch, what would your special enhancement be? And we will start with Michael.
Oh, man.
It's because you're our guest. That's why
we always start with the guest.
Offered it first.
Oh, goodness. I want to make this good. Have you guys thought about this question already?
I haven't even told them.
No.
So
I have no idea.
It's always blind.
Yep.
And we're being serious, right? I gotta think of it.
Yeah,
it could be. I mean,
relatively serious.
Serious, I guess. Sure.
You know what I think would be really cool is in chaotic situations like the one I experienced this morning, to have a clear mind would be such a cool mutation to be able to. I would think that during a battle, to be able to slow everything down in your head and really kind of see what the enemy is going to do before they do it, to take that chaotic moment, that extreme sort of release of adrenaline and energy and slow it down would be really awesome. I think that would be a cool mutation.
That's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes type thing from the Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh no!
I like how you were having a clear mind is a mutation.
It is though.
Not standard issue anymore. Not at all. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I like
But-
seeing things before they happen. Possibly Omega's ability.
Ooh.
We'll get into that though.
We'll get into that. We'll
Yeah.
get into that. I think that I would want something in which I could like fix anything, because like every once in a while, like I'll try to like build something on my own or just like launch it as some project, and I get halfway through and I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. But having like the actual like clear insight like immediately to be able to fix the thing or pull it apart, put it back together, that would be like fantastic. So I guess it's kind of like an offshoot of like what tech can do, but
I
a
like
little
that.
different.
So your name would be like Fix.
Fixer.
Fix and Fix.
Fixer. There you go.
Fixer. What about you, Matt?
Oh God, I still haven't thought of one. I thought of one, but it's kind of like dumb. So I'm like
No, I
debating
wanna
on
hear
whether.
it. I wanna
Okay,
hear it.
so I want to be like super bendy. That's my power. I want to be able to like bend and like climb on things and be like super acrobatic and like just like
So question, not like bendy bones, but like what, extra flexible, like an
Like, I wanna-
acrobat?
I want to be like triple jointed. Yeah, I want to be like nuts.
So we're not talking like Mr. Fantastic.
No, he's talking
No,
Mr.
no, no, I don't wanna be-
Fantastic.
I don't.
No, he's talking Mr. Fantastic.
No, I don't want to be stretchy. I don't want to
That's
be like
And it's more like Robin than Mr. Fantastic, like an acrobat and like
yeah.
Okay.
human, but you can do sort of a little bit beyond human activity.
Yeah, my power. I have like a staff or something, like a retractable staff in my back, and I like beat up droids, but I'm, doing like flips and stuff.
I
Nah,
like
see,
that.
I told you. No, it's super
And
bendy.
you Bendu. I think that's
Bendu. You are the
Bendu.
Bendu.
You could be the vendor.
I guess I would just choose like I'd be some sort of chameleon type thing. So would I just be a changeling, I guess?
Mm.
I don't know.
Be a changeling.
My
Wow.
first one was I would fly, but then I'm like, wait, this isn't superpowers. So
Right.
And
So then I
also
thought
like
invisibility.
flying is less of a big deal in Star Wars than it is in the real world.
True. Very
You could
true.
just get a jetpack. Like we could all just have jetpacks.
Yep. Good point. So yeah, I guess
If I can say too to that, like this most recent episode of the Bad Batch, not to get ahead of ourselves, that mutation would have been very helpful when they were literally having conversations with clones that for some
Didn't
reason
notice
for
them.
them to recognize them. That was so weird.
exactly.
That's a good mutation.
So yeah, that would work out with that new episode. Huh.
I'm sorry. All I can think of is just Wrecker hitting his head. Like I'm not even joking. I rewatched that scene like 5 times. I paused it upon it happening and was like, "Did he just hit his head?" And like
That's my
scrolled
favorite-
back and just kept. The
favorite
noise
moment
was
so
such a crisp
far.
bonk.
That's
It
my
was
favorite
perfect.
moment of his so far.
Pure
Like I love
comedy.
that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So subtle and understated that
Mhm.
hitting his head.
With that, we will jump into. We've talked about Aftermath kind of before, not on the podcast, but we'll touch upon Aftermath and Cut and Run here.
Mhm.
So, I guess we'll begin with the Caleb and Depa opening, which was great. I know there's some people out there that are butthurt over stuff. I guess with canon stuff changing. But yeah, if you guys want to, we'll start with Jamie, I guess, since you're
Okay.
the
Yeah,
Caleb
well-
Doom specialist.
The Caleb Doom specialist. That's a loose term, but I mean, like, the moment that they like said it was Collar, I was like, "Whoa, this is exactly what we think it is," and I was just so excited to see it in the first place. I just also upfront with all the visuals with Collar alone. That entire like sequence was so visually stunning with all of the wide shots of the mountains and all of the trees and the waterfall at the end, obviously. But yeah, so like that bit. Honestly, as a person who's read the comics as a casual-ish comics reader, it didn't bother me at all. Like I loved what they did, and I loved that they did it, and I was not expecting at all to get more depth to Kanan's backstory again, in this sequence. I mean, like, and I've told like AJ and Matt this already, but like the whole thing with whatever visual media is, that's what will be the most consumed version of it, not the comics, not the books. And so it's just like, if it's canon, so what? Whatever is the actual like what we're seeing on a screen is unfortunately always going to be what's the most consumed and what's the most readily accepted. And yeah, just accept whichever part you like the best. I personally love that Depa had a blue lightsaber. I thought it was great. So
Yeah.
I loved every bit of it.
Yeah, it was interesting. They changed the lightsaber color from green to blue. But yeah, like you said, I mean, to me, it's not a big deal. I know Matt and I have discussed that the skeleton of the story is there of the same thing that happened. So I mean, I'm totally fine with it. I think it was fine.
And it's actually pretty funny because technically Deppa's lightsaber was changed from blue to green because they've had those character models for her for quite a while. And they had a blue lightsaber. They were going to feature a blue lightsaber in Clone Wars. And that's why they also have the blue lightsaber in the Lightsaber Collections book, which is something that we figured out the other day.
Have we uncovered a weird petty back and forth between Dave Filoni and comic writers? Because it is almost like I wonder if Dave was really attached to, I would assume, yeah, he's really attached to Caleb and Kanan because of Rebels, and he's really attached to Deppa because of Clone Wars. And so I wonder if part of that was that he wanted to finish that story and that the comic writers, kind of beat him to it. And I do wonder if that was sort of a power play there by Dave Filoni to say, no, these are my characters. I'm going to decide how their story goes, because it's a really weird thing. We talked about this a little bit on my podcast. It's a really weird thing that they wouldn't just select 2 other Jedi, or they wouldn't just follow what the comic did and kind of write that in. And it almost feels like if we're changing canon this late into Disney era Star Wars, like what is sacred? What can stay? What will be changed? Will they change other parts of Star Wars that we've looked at as canon? And if that's the case, is anything ever really canon?
Yeah.
These are deep questions.
It is like, I mean, I don't want to say it's a scary thing to think about, because it is just Star Wars at the end of the day. But, like, what are they going to change next? The Ben Solo comics that create Kylo Ren, that people are, did he destroy the temple? Did he not? I don't know.
I think what it comes down to is there was a review actually before the first episode came out that kind of spoiled the Kanan reveal in the episode. And in the review, they talk about how they sat down and they said, well, who can we add to this story? And Dave Filoni piped up and said, well, we can use Kanan. Kanan's available. And for him to think that Kanan was available, even though really he wasn't, right? Because they'd already told the story, kind of makes me think that part of the Kanan comics was definitely like something that was left over, because they've been working on Bad Batch for years. They've had this like waiting in the wings for like ever. But I feel like the Kanan comic is one of those pieces like Dark Disciples or the stuff that we got in the Ahsoka novel or A New Dawn, where it was like these like leftover arcs and story beats that Filoni had written down somewhere that never really saw the light of day, and they didn't think we're going to see the light of day, that were just kind of adapted into other media, just because they never thought that they would be making Bad Batch. Once Clone Wars came out, that kind of shakes everything up. So I think in terms of like when you ask what is sacred and what isn't, I would say things like Dark Disciple could be overwritten, say, like if they were to adapt that arc now, because we know that there are rumors that there's going to be more animated content coming out, and Matt Lanter has come out and said that he might be a part of it. So
it seems like they're making a push for more Ventress stuff. I mean, she's been appearing in different posters, and she's a great character. So to have her death be in a book, might not be the best thing. So maybe they'll probably adapt that in some way.
So I think if we look at some of these stories, like, what could be leftover ideas that didn't make the cut, and what are, actual original stories that these creators came up with. I don't know how one would do that. I mean, you just kind of have to look at the story and guess. But I think for the most part, like those kinds of stories are going to be subject to change, just because, the creators have the opportunity to do it now, where they probably didn't have an opportunity before.
It goes back to the consumption of it, because the people who are making the shows and the movies are going to get the top priority over everything else. And then the book and comics will always be underneath that. I mean, obviously with like High Republic, they've had like free reign to do like whatever they want. But
highly
that's a totally different thing. Totally different sequence.
Because those are the creators' stories that they're telling. They sat all these people down at a table and said, come up with the story, and they came up with the story.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the Kanan comic, the fact that it's on collar, the fact that, there's a Commander Gray, and, all the clones turn on Caleb and, Deppa during the battle, or right after the battle. It makes me think that, you know, these were like notes that Filoni had just kind of like given to somebody to adapt, and that the bare bones were always there, but the way Filoni sees it and the way somebody else saw it were two different interpretations. That's just,
it's so weird to be on a factual podcast.
We don't talk this much about things like this.
No, we don't
usually.
usually.
This is like a hot topic.
yeah, well, I mean,
it sets a dangerous precedent of like what I mean, because I can understand what you're saying, but if you start to muddy the waters now, future creators will see that precedent of being able to do that and change stories. And I mean, you know, there's a lot of controversy over what Disney era Star Wars has done, and is that stuff going to get changed because the fans want it changed? I mean, I don't know. It's a little nerve-wracking to me, especially because all of the High Republic stuff is written right now. And I know that you said like it's thoughtful, it's more well planned out, but all it takes is one Dave Filoni to say, no, I want to do something different, and I think he would.
Yeah. I could see that. Just because, again, you know, that attitude of, well, you know, Kanan's available. It's clear that, you know, Filoni has these stories just kind of like cemented, you know, like, okay, and I'm going to tell them, that kind of deal. I guess, yeah, it's a dangerous precedent. I'm not too worried right now. I don't know why I'm not too worried, but I guess I'm not. Just because like the bare bones of the story were kept. So like if you were to read, say, like a summary of historical events of, you know, the what happens in Bad Batch, the bare bones are the same, where you could just make a summary like Depa Billaba and Caleb are betrayed on Collar during the battle by Commander Gray and his clones. And that's why Caleb doesn't trust clones anymore. And that wasn't really changed. So once, you know, this definitely is like, this could be seen as a stepping stone towards actually like just completely rewriting the bare bones of a story, so that you cannot reconcile, you know, you cannot come up with a summary for both of them and have them come out almost the same. So I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. And this was definitely the most egregious of the bunch that have been kind of like listed out, like the Ahsoka backstory and the Cobb Vanth backstory. Most of them have been backstories that have been changed, like memories almost. I wonder if that's even I don't even know if that's a thing, if that's just like a coincidence or an active choice where it's like, okay, this is told in a backstory or a memory, so maybe we can change the details. But
I think something of note, just in general, so like I love, obviously you can consume all of the visual media with like the movies and the shows, and like I read my fair amount of the books, but like I don't care about the changes. Like I feel like I'm in like the minority here, that like I read the extra stuff and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but like I know like what will take precedence here. So it's just like I don't care that they changed it, because obviously the director is gonna have it the director will have the final say at the end of the day. So it's just like, whatever. Like I don't care. Like I'm still consuming this media, and it's not gonna change my feelings about it really, unless it's like something like absolutely crazy. But like you said, it's like literally memories. Each of these changes have been some sort of difference like that.
And I agree with you. I completely agree. I actually only ever skimmed through the Kanan comic, so to me it was no skin off my nose. But I think if I want to get a horse in the race, my thought is, what happens when it is something I care about? What happens when it is something you care about, something that you're attached to? Are the same. And at the end of the day, it's fake and in space. And I think we're all, it's very clear that all four of us are very level-headed in our absorption of Star Wars content. But there are people out there who really have an emotional connection to this. They really base their personality, their joy on content that's given to them, and it's kind of the only thing they have. And so I think that's who I'm more concerned for, the people who there are people who have, you know, major social issues, who have decided to live in the world of Star Wars, and that's really wonderful that they're able to do that. But then you start to take these moments away from them, and it's almost like taking family away from them. It's almost like taking family memories away from them. And I know people who, so far as to get the Kanan comic tattooed on their arm, you know, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, that's as important to you as the 332nd is to me. What if 332nd was rewritten? That would be kind of painful. And so I think I agree. It's whatever. It's 6 here, a half a dozen there. But I do think there is something to be considered, and obviously not for too long. And I don't want to derail the whole podcast on this topic. But,
Right.
Yeah,
It's a great
Well,
point.
No, I totally get what you're saying.
jeez.
And
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
Dave
Still
Filoni, if
going
you're
on.
listening, which I know you are, just don't do it again.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be talking about Bad Batch here. I mean, it was a good.
I have a question. I have a
We're
question.
talking about the first 20 minutes of Bad Batch.
This is
True.
this is actually changing the subject too. So why do we think that Crosshair's inhibitor chip actually worked and everyone else's didn't?
Well, I would.
That's
Aside from Echo, because he got fried.
100% work.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just like go full robot to say, and just
He
like,
almost
like-
did.
I think.
Well, he was, he was having problems. He was having like headaches, and he was like, I got to follow these orders.
well, and it's clear that the Kaminoans didn't know what they were doing when they were creating these mutations. It was almost an accidental surprise. And so part of me wonders if, they were adding certain elements to certain players, and part of being a sniper is intense discipline and patience and focus. And so if you have to keep that, it's almost like you want to keep these directives, because he was always the most soldier of all of them. So it makes me feel like his mutation in that wasn't so strong as to where Wrecker, it was just kind of like throttle to 100 tech, throttle to 100 hunter, throttle to 100. And then Crosshair was more of a finely tuned mutation. So I kind of feel like it could have been that didn't affect that part of the brain.
Yeah,
That's a good point. I hadn't considered that, really.
because that was like
for months. I'm sure Jamie's about to say this, but for
Yeah.
months we were wondering like, will the Bad Batch, like, will their chips work? And then as soon we were watching it together, obviously, and as soon as it didn't happen, Jamie was like, phew.
yeah.
Like, thank goodness.
Literally, yeah. For the past, ever since the Bad Batch has been announced and everything, I've just been totally obsessed with do they even have inhibitor chips? And like a friend of ours told us that pretty much, hey, the Kaminoans were given a deal like, oh, you need to make us a product, and so the Kaminoans are going to deliver on the product that they made, which are the clones, and every single one needs an inhibitor chip. So that statement alone, I was like, oh yeah, so they'll definitely have the chips. And then from there, what are they actually going to do? And I'm glad that they didn't change them, and it doesn't make any difference. And
But Omega doesn't have a chip, does she?
Omega is a different kind of a clone. She's totally different.
I don't know.
Should we get to Omega right now? Omega.
I guess.
Omega.
Yeah.
Omega.
We've talked about this before too, but not on the podcast, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think you need to bring that up.
Yeah,
every time.
Just say it, AJ. Say it.
Matt thinks Matt's one of the people that thinks Palpatine could be.
No, I'm not. I didn't say that.
Okay,
well,
Matt, every week
No.
we have to go through
No.
it.
every day.
But really, we do.
Mischaracterizing my words. I promise you that. So saying that we've talked about this before actually is relevant to the
Hey,
conversation.
I haven't finished my sentence, but also so
Finish your sentence.
I think Omega is force sensitive of some kind, and I think she is a clone. I've come to the conclusion, I think, that she's a clone of a Force user, maybe not Sheev Palpatine, but I think maybe someone else. That's kind of what I've been thinking more recently.
Perhaps
I don't know
the
who.
dead Jedi that they were carrying out.
That's
feel
what,
like-
that's what I was going to say. Then maybe we'll find that out, but
I feel like I'm back in the camp of who is Rey and like Rey Nobody versus Rey Skywalker and all that jazz. And like, I just want Omega to be her own person. Like, I know she's a clone,
sure.
and the Kaminoans like have cloned millions of people like before this. Like, they have like millions and millions of like records in their record system. But like, I just want her to like be like someone we've never seen before, because she doesn't look well. She kind of, we're not talking about that theory. But like, yeah, I just want her to be like her own person, and she obviously is very important to Nala Se, because like Nala Se is always looking for her and making sure that she's like all right and whatnot. And like, we have the one scene which I loved in the second episode of her sitting in the rear gunner seat of the Havoc Marauder, my favorite name of a ship, sitting in the rear gunner seat, and it was so similar to Ezra looking at the picture of his parents. I absolutely loved that. In our rewatch of it again, I was like, oh, this is so similar to Ezra, just looking for home. But Omega looking at the headband, she obviously also really cares for Nala Se, and she must miss her in some way, shape, or form, because that's all that she had before. And yeah, that's it. It's just she's still
Okay.
looking for her family.
I think there's something that a lot of a lot of people kind of glossed over. When Tech scans her, he says origins unknown, and I think that should weigh a little heavier than it is. I said it to Greg, and Greg said I was stupid, which is fine. It's okay. We got through it. But I think if Tech had scanned her, he would have said, origins, Jango Fett bloodline, or Camino, or it would have had something to do with not unknown. It would have not been unknown. But the fact that it's unknown makes me think that there is something else there.
That's another thing that I hadn't even thought of, because I've always been under the assumption that she's a Jango Fett clone, not a Palpatine clone. AJ.
She looks nothing like Jango Fett. I'm sorry. Like
because she's a girl.
Beside that,
and Jango Fett is not. That's why she doesn't look like him. And I think it was. I think it was.
I'm not going to say it, but visually, she doesn't look. I'm not going to say it.
Jamie, did you see Daniel Logan's Instagram post?
Yes.
I didn't see it.
I love.
What was it?
There are so many pictures of Tamir Morrison with like a blonde wig or like a blonde hair. It's so funny. I love it.
So it's little Daniel Logan, my favorite, and the blonde hair.
I knew Daniel Logan would come up in this podcast somehow. I don't know how did I know?
But that's a good point. I think we're going to explore more into her origins. I think that that's a clear mystery being set up.
Right. It's the Grogu of this show right now.
But I do think she's Force sensitive. I do think that's her mutation.
No, definitely. I agree.
She would literally be Grogu if she's Force sensitive. Like, they don't need to pull a Force sensitive person into the show. Like,
Grogu
I love you're nodding your head viciously over there, but like literally, it's, even though it is Star Wars, you don't need a Jedi in every single medium. Like you don't. You really don't.
Become a Jedi.
Matt,
I concur.
If she's Force sensitive, someone will find out along the way, and then it'll be like, oh, we need to find a Jedi, and then it's the Mandalorian, but in animated form. Look,
I will say though,
like, we don't need that.
Not to debate Omega's origin. Well, let's talk about Omega in general. Omega is amazing.
Yes,
she's like the best. I hate to say it, but she might be my favorite part of the show. And I didn't think that would happen. Definitely. So
she's it's well deserved. I adore the scene in episode 2 in which she steps off the ship for the first time, because she's never seen anything but the rain and the storms on Camino. And literally just looking at the dirt, she's the happiest person in the galaxy. And just the face of just like when they jump to light speed, just seeing the reflection back in her eyes. And it's just, I love seeing Star Wars through the eyes of a child, because it really changes your perspective on the entire show as well. And I gotta say, it's so similar to Rey seeing all the green on Takodana for the first time, and
or the rain on Arcel.
Love it
when she reaches
out.
And
no, it was the reverse of her seeing the rain.
Yeah,
Omega only knew rain; she saw sun. Rey only knew sun, and she saw rain. So.
Wow,
poetry, beautiful.
It rhymes.
And I really hope that this is all. I mean, I'm sure everything is so like planned out and laser focused and thoughtful, but we could be entering a new era of Star Wars where the storytelling is directly reflecting the fandom. And I say that because right now, I would say the loudest part of the fandom, or at least for the last few years, has been kind of the toxic boys. We call them little baby boys. And
toxic boys.
And what this show is doing is it's taking characters that these little baby boys do love, ones that, they're obsessed with, and it's giving them heart, and it's giving them empathy, and it's giving them characters to attach to that are not just shooting cool guns and saving the day. It's giving them kind of what it did with Din, was giving them humanity and telling them, hey, no, it's cool. If you like Star Wars, it's cool to be empathetic. It's cool to be thoughtful. It's cool to be a dad. And I could really see this reshaping a large part of the young fandom that is so toxic, so vile, and making them say, oh, wait, no, it's cool to be empathetic. It's cool to find joy in dirt. It's, and I really hope that that's kind of the narrative that they're pushing, because that's a really healthy narrative.
It really is.
Yeah. That's a good, definitely.
The dad batch.
Well, I mean, yesterday.
I stole it from Star Wars Explained. Can't take credit.
It's dad batch. I love that.
The second episode for me, I enjoyed more than the first. there was that moment when she steps off the farm and the Nexu comes and they have to like save her, and then she comes back and Hunter's like yelling at her like, why didn't you listen, like why did you do this? And then Cut just like comes out and like gives her a hug and is like, it's just important that you're safe and it's okay. And then he has to, and I love like all the entire Bad Batch, who we've seen as like nothing but like these like heroic like people who know exactly what to do in all situations. They're all standing there like slack-jawed, like what do we do? And Cut has to like teach them how to be parents, how to be like understanding and patient with a child who isn't a soldier, who doesn't, have to like blindly, charge in and follow orders all the time, and who will actually like is curious and will explore and do these things that they have no idea. They were trained from birth. They were never kids. They were never, they never had really parents of any kind to raise them. So it's like these blank slates being slowly taught how to be good parents. I mean, obviously, parenthood is such a huge theme in Star Wars. It's like one of the biggest ones you've got. So that moment was what solidified, I think, the entire show for me. Was when Cut, just has to hug her, tell her it's going to be okay, and then talk to the Bad Batch about being parents. That was like immediately sold me on the show.
Cut is just the best.
Cut is so good, dude. And I watched his episode before we watched the Bad Batch episode, and it's just he's such a good character. He's so devoted to his family, and it's like that is so cool. Yeah.
It was sold for me when oh come on, I'm trying to say when I was sold on the show.
Okay, go ahead.
I was sold when they get back into their stinky, smelly room that looked incredible. And first of all, we couldn't find Echo's bed. If anyone can find Echo's bed, please tell me, because I could not find it in the scene. But no, Wrecker rushes over to his bunk and grabs his Lula Tuga doll, and it just starts like waving everywhere, smacking it in Crosshair's face. That's when I was sold. I'm sorry. Lula. Like Wrecker needed a stuffed animal. I'm so happy that he has one.
It's like the comedy is so fresh and new, and it's not pandering. I loved Rebels, but I think a lot of Rebels comedy was kind of slapstick, and it was very much aimed at 7-year-olds. This is kind of getting a little bit more mature, and it's referencing a lot of comedy that we see in the films, like which is really cool. The physical comedy that we see in the films, and I can't get enough of it. I'm loving Own.
Yeah, just as we were talking earlier, the hitting the head in the background. It's not even addressed.
Exactly.
There's no like silly music. It's just him like bonk. That's it.
It was a very crisp noise. It was very, very good noise. Oh no.
And then where Echo says, "We've got a problem," and Tech says, "We're more what is it? We're more deviant than defective." Basically, as Echo was saying that like the Bad Batch has a problem. Like, no, he was saying that there's an issue happening right now.
Tech has some great lines. Like when they were talking about, can you recreate these codes? And he's like, well, I just learned of them, but I totally can't.
But of course.
I love that.
I really like the dynamic of Echo and Tech together. They're like, they click so well together, just like that,
I'm sorry. I'm just like laughing at like everything with Echo and Tech. Just everything with Tech in general. I'm sorry. Like I'm like obviously speaking Michael's language over there, but like Tech was always my favorite, like in like the first arc as well. And but like I can understand like why a lot of people didn't like him, but like now that we're actually still getting more characterization for everyone, and like I still just love Tech. Like it's just to the point.
There were
like,
people who didn't like Tech.
They weren't like his favorite.
We kind of glossed over in a lot of ways, and they were worried about making him too much of a actually character. Always proving everybody wrong. But now that they're kind of fleshing out the comedy, it's very dry sarcasm, and honestly, the way he doesn't understand humor but still lands a joke is really good. It's like it's really fun to see.
He's British, so it's dry. It's all dry humor. I just want to point out that I love how they put the male pattern baldness mutation in Tech, and he's I love how that was. Somehow it's got to be beneficial to them, so we'll find out.
It's so funny.
I love in the new Lego, you literally get 2 extra hair pieces, one for Hunter and one for Tech. Those are the only extra hair pieces you get.
The hair is important.
They're the only ones with hair, but like.
Well, watching this episode, Hunter and Cut were talking, and I'm like, look at these guys' hair. Like, The
It was
ponytail
bad.
with the mutton chops, and then Hunter's hair is just
Hey, I can
ridiculous.
relate to the mutton chops. I was jealous.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, jeez. There you go.
Where's your
Chops.
cut cosplay?
Matt, I think you're pulling it off better than Cut is. I am
Wow,
so
thank you.
curious as to why Cut has that style. It's just like nothing here. And also, if you're trying not to get detected, wouldn't you grow a full beard? Wouldn't you
That's
do
what
something?
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
like just a little bit on the sides is not enough to hide you, dude.
Yeah.
Like you almost got caught. Like, dude, go all out. Just grow a big bushy beard for a little
It
while.
would be like me being like, now you don't know who I
Where
am.
did he go?
Wow,
I can't
new
see him.
guest on HoloNet Marauders.
really
for
loved,
the audio only listeners, he just took off his glasses and that was
Oh,
it.
right,
So
right.
yeah.
Sorry, audio amigos.
I really loved their like costumes they put on, their disguises.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You mean hats?
Hunter just put on
The
like
hats.
a farming outfit. He kept his headband
Yeah.
on. It's like,
My
this is fun.
clothes.
Like,
And then Wrecker loved his little. Wrecker wore the poncho and the hat like the whole episode.
Why did Wrecker change so early? There was no reason he needed to change that early. Like literally,
No.
like when Omega goes beyond the fence, and like that was after Hunter and Cut went to town. And so like was Wrecker was probably supposed to go with them, but like he's literally just
he wants to
already
wear a
in
hat.
the poncho and the hat. Like
Saleucami, my
like,
son,
usually, like-
is bad on your skin. He wants to protect his skin.
Salute at my son.
Dude, on it, like it was so funny to me. Hunter walking around, he didn't take off his skull headband. Like I get you have the skull tattooed on your face, so you can't really get rid of that. Yeah, right. Just flip it around, or take it off and wear a
Yeah.
hat like everybody else, dude.
He's
Like,
gonna
how
have
does
bad
nobody
hairdo,
notice
that's why.
this clone walking around with a big skull tattoo on his face and a skull bandana? But no, I
How
guess
come?
not.
I feel like with the hard reset for Order 66 for all of the regular clones, I feel like it made them all even more oblivious though, like actual stormtroopers, because like none of them are picking up anything.
Yeah,
like-
well, that's
Like
what
literally
Michael
none of them
mentioned
noticed
earlier.
the clones.
You know, why didn't
Hard
they
reset.
notice?
When-
They're just
Cut
being dumb.
I saw a theory, and I think you guys are kind of referencing this, where it it reset them to episode 2, the episode 2 clone troopers, where they're kind of mindless and they don't have any personality. I mean, it was really interesting because somebody mentioned, yeah, it's just like Attack of the Clones, and it really is. It was weird how much I didn't root for them as soon as their personalities were gone. And I'm obsessed with
Yeah.
clones. I don't know if you guys know.
Gee,
Oh,
I
really?
don't know how we can tell.
Really. That was one thing that I like pointed out immediately with when we were watching the first episode in the cafeteria. All of the background clones have the same standardized haircut. No one is an individual anymore. So it's like they immediately all lined up to get their hairstyles restyled. Everything is just gone. No
Big
more
tattoos.
tattoos. Everyone's just the same.
Yeah, you know.
I
how
love
you-
the food fight also. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yes. What were they eating? It looked like burritos
burritos
They're-
or rolls.
or rolls.
A bunch of yellow soup. A
Mm,
lot of
Yes.
everywhere.
Stuga
lovely.
soup. Gross.
You I would say all of your attention to the lore and the names of things. I don't have that kind of brain capacity. You are naming everything by name. It's really impressive.
Oh,
It's-
thank
Matt's,
you.
Matt's the
So-
lore king over there, and
Oh,
Dammy's not
God.
bad as well. I'm just here for the
Yeah.
red.
Yeah.
Do you have like the books? Do you like read Wikipedia a lot?
Yeah,
That's,
Oh, yeah,
that's
the two of them
That's
do.
Matt's territory. Like,
Wow.
like one thing that like so like I guess like my background in general. So like the sequels are like my like main thing, but like the Clone Wars was my secondary like main thing, and like I just kind of like fell down a rabbit hole of like trying to like learn like as much as possible about like the background and whatnot, and just like figure out everything about the clones. And so like my clones were my clones, the
My
clones. The clones are always my favorite part of the look at my clones. No, they were always my favorite part of the Clone Wars. And so I was very amped for the Bad Batch to be a show in the first place. And like it was funny because like both AJ and Matt were like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not like that excited. And I'm just like, the Bad Batch is going to be my favorite thing going into it. And they're all like, why? This is very confusing. Yeah.
What's your favorite
yeah,
era
that's-
of Star Wars? I mean,
Yeah.
you love Fallen Order. The
For
whole
me?
reason.
Yeah. So I was like, who are you asking? Yeah. So like getting to that, my favorite era of Star Wars is the post Order 66 era, in which we don't even have like that much information. So I'm so excited to be getting like the actual all of this stuff in the show. And like I have so many stupid questions in my head. Like, what's the clone retirement program? When are they going to be phased out? Are they given a paycheck as they leave? Or are they just told leave? And like, what's going to happen?
That's not a stupid question, because that's incredible. Like, I'm incredibly curious, because the Empire seems to know, there are clones out there, like in Rebels, when the three of them are on the, ATTE in the middle of the salt planet. See, I don't know the name of that. I forgot that one. But when they're in the middle of nowhere, the Empire gets a call. Like, Wolf calls them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, so there's 3 clones out there." And it's like, okay, so do you guys you're monitoring all these different clones in retirement somewhere, or is it like not a big deal?
I mean,
they're still registered. Well, go
there's
ahead.
literally millions of them. My concern or thought is there could be some kind of mass extinction event. In Force Unleashed, I believe. What was the game that had the Imperial attack on Camino? Was that Force Unleashed?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the Empire at one point, and it's not canonical anymore, but I do think they will take some from the story. There was one point when there was some sort of an attack. There was some point where I genuinely think we're going to see some of that, where a lot of the clones get wiped out, because otherwise there's millions and millions of clones that have been reset that only want to follow orders wandering around the galaxy. The clones that the Empire is monitoring have all got their chips removed. So I don't know if they know that their chips are removed. I'm not sure what that means, like if there is some sort of relationship there, but I can't imagine the Empire would be all right with a bunch of order following soldiers out there not a part of the Empire.
Right. And that that's exactly it. I'm surprised they're even okay with clones without the chips. I would have thought that they would just wipe them out too. They're a liability just the same. But I do
some value prop.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about. I honestly think the Kaminoans and the clones are going to be like the first Imperial genocide that we're going to see. Like, they're just going to wipe them out.
I know we're like 30 minutes in, but can I brighten my screen a little bit real quick? You guys can keep talking. It's really bothering me. I feel like I'm
Go for it.
Don't go anywhere, please.
Oh geez, what was I going to say in response to that? Matt, what did you just say?
I'm going to bring up chain.
I talked about how the Kaminoans and the clones are going to be the first genocide of the Empire.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like, when we were going into watching this, I was so worried, obviously, having to experience Order 66 again, and like what we got was pretty mild. And so, like, now that you're actually like bringing up that there might be this huge, like, pretty much clone genocide,
Well, I think Michael is totally correct that they're going to adapt the Legends part where the Empire just invades and wipes out Camino, and there was a clone uprising too. You play it in Battlefront 2, the original.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that that's what they're setting up. The Kaminoans are going to turn the clones on the Empire. And the Empire is going to wipe them all out.
Yeah,
the original rebellion.
Yeah,
it'll be incredible. But like, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I could also see a world where we talked a little bit about Crosshair. Crosshair's not going to stay bad. That's my thought. There's going to be a redemption arc, and I think we all agree. There's going to be a redemption arc for Crosshair. Hopefully one that does not result in him dying. But I think that there could be a world where they go back to get him, they get rid of his chip or whatever, and then they build some kind of rebellion of clones. And everybody's talking about which Bad Batch character is going to die. I would like to see none of them. But I could see a world where they lead the rebellion of clones against the Empire.
That would be awesome. I know everybody was dying for the First Order versus Final Order, Stormtrooper uprising, and I still think one day we could get that. But I would love to see, clone versus Empire kind of uprising. I think that's a great.
And maybe that's what really sparks like the rebellion and whatnot. Maybe Saw gets involved.
Saw's not joining.
Saw's everywhere. He can do whatever.
Is anybody else tired of seeing Saw everywhere?
Yes.
Oh my god,
he is everywhere.
I really love that there's only like a 5-year time span between Bad Batch and Fallen Order when we see him next. And in Fallen Order, he looks just so
Okay.
he's like bald and grungy
Look.
and he changed so much in 5 years.
Look, so the thing with the whole aging up of characters, this is something that is always a hot take for me. First of all, Tarkin. The Citadel arc happens maybe like a year and a half before the events in the Bad Batch at most, and he looks relatively young, relatively. And then in the Bad Batch, he's already like really, really old, like a New Hope era old. He has so many wrinkles, and he has like the liver spots and whatnot on his forehead. And I'm like why is he so old a year later? It doesn't make any sense.
Hey,
a lot of stress with his new job.
Crunching the numbers on whether or not clones are financially
so like
financially a good idea.
That's terrible. But then like Cut's kids, they were aged up perfectly because that's also like a year and a half later, and like they're not that much older, so they're still little kids.
I think they looked a little older than they
A little bit.
I think they looked fine. I'm glad they didn't look like teenagers, first of all.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, you're right about that.
I wanted to touch upon the whole chain codes being implemented and whatnot, and that was really cool to starting to see all this Imperial takeover. And now that I think of it, the town where they were in the last episode there, it gave me a lot of Lothal vibes from Rebels when they're trying to like walk around Lothal in disguise and whatnot. So
yeah. I love when Echo went into the like little like check-in booth, whatever, and he's plugged in like getting the data, and he's looking around and he has no idea what he's looking at because everything is just brand new, and like I love that shot alone. I feel like that one's really, really overlooked because everyone's like, oh yeah, it looks the same. No, it doesn't. It looks totally different.
The Empire wasted no time even in changing out the emblems. There's the Imperial flag everywhere now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I was saying that in like recapping to AJ, I'm like, they literally like overnight just changed everything because they rolled out the new logo, all the new merchandising, all the new stuff, and like everything's there.
Ready to go.
Really.
I guess
it's solid.
Tarkin was really putting in the hours on this one.
The chain code idea is so brilliant. Like it's actually like really smart, right? Like, you have these useless Republic credits that you're not going to want anymore. All you have to do is turn them in, trade them for the Imperial credits, and you get, your number. But like, who's going to sit around with useless money? Everybody in the galaxy is going to want to trade in their money for the new stuff. Yeah. So everybody is going to be cataloged. It's actually like a pretty smart move. And I just want to say the control of movement is something not often talked about with like authoritarianism and fascism. And it's really cool to see that implemented with the Empire. I know we kind of saw that in Solo too. And I remember thinking yesterday when we saw them put the chain codes in the little drawer, and then the drawer like slides in and the person like inspects them. And it's like the same kind of thing as Solo, where, the controlling the movement of people is essential to controlling people.
I'm really scared of saying this because when Matt said authoritarian, everybody kind of laughed as if maybe Matt goes political sometimes.
Try not to.
Not on the podcast. We try to keep it not in the podcast, right. But yes, out of the three of us, Matt is the most political.
Okay,
and most informed.
I'm not going to get political here, but I do want to say something very similar to that I've been seeing is the implementation of cryptocurrency and how it's almost like we're getting familiar with having value on something that has no value. And the Federal Reserve in the US is just printing dollar bills that have no value. There's no gold behind it anymore. And so it's really interesting to see now we're just adding value to nothing as long as people believe in it. And it kind of is a step in. There's I forget who said it, but somebody said, that someday we will own nothing but be happy. And that's the idea of having no physical ownership over property or, equity or any sort of cash value, but everything will be within this sort of government regulated chain of ownership and currency. And it gets very similar to what we just experienced in this episode of like, oh, everything you have, it's worthless now. But if you add this to it, it's got value. It's really interesting to see that kind of shift.
If you add this number that we can track you with, then you're all set now.
Just super interesting.
I love that we
scary.
got that take from you. I absolutely adore that we got that take from you, because everyone is always like, "Oh, Michael, he's pure chaos, absolute chaos." Like you don't know what you're gonna expect, and then suddenly we get like businessman Michael, and I'm like, "Whoa,
That was great.
we got
Yeah.
that."
Somebody commented on my podcast the other day. They're like, they're really well thought out and educated takes hidden behind a tornado of yelling, screaming, and throwing things. And I was like,
That's perfect.
thank you.
They nailed it.
I think Star Wars has always been my release. It's been my thing that I don't have to be buttoned up and serious. I mean, I do run a business and got over 100 employees here. And so that the me that's not on my Star Wars side is very different. So that was a little piece of it, but it's more fun to be crazy, I guess.
That's good.
No, that was great. Yeah, thank you.
That was great.
AJ, what else we got in the episode?
I mean,
yeah,
I have an
Star Wars.
absolutely polarizing people will turn off the podcast question for the end.
Whoa.
We'll get there.
We
when
bring
we
the
get
heavy
there.
hitters here, I guess.
There he goes.
He's out.
But yeah, was there anything on the 2 episodes that we wanted to still talk about that we missed?
Hang on. What else did I love?
While you're
Go
thinking
ahead.
of that, I'm really excited to see more Echo character development, because I was, watching this video about, how Echo removed his handprint and how that symbolizes that the old Echo's dead and the new one is this version, and he's kind of soulless right now and he's still finding himself. And I think by the end of the series, we're going to have like a completely new character in Echo. And, the fact that even Hot Toys led with the Echo character kind of says a lot, because they're told what to launch according to Lucasfilm. So I'm kind of excited to see Echo become a star in the show.
Yeah,
I'm super excited for him to actually get the cybernetic hand, the Inspector Gadget, go Gadget
With the stretchy arm, we're back to the my power, the stretchy arm.
There you
Come
go.
on.
I loved in the episode that your Hunter figure. I loved in the episode that Cut just mentions Rex and Echo shoots out of his like chair or whatever, and he's just like, "Where is he? What's going on?" And he just wants, because like obviously he like gets along with Bad Batch. But he's just like, I'm just kind of with these guys. He's not like with these guys yet, but he was the moment like Rex was done. Rex is his family, so at the end of the day, he like wants to like find him again.
Yeah.
Did that bother anybody that they glossed over that so fast that they weren't like, well, where did they go? What are they doing? Like, where can I find them?
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, all those questions were going through my head. Why weren't they going through everybody else's head? Like, where'd he go?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he not here anymore? Like Rex, like I said before, I watched Cut's episode in the Clone Wars before I watched Bad Batch. And, Rex sees Cut's family and kind of feels, it looks like he feels like, this is your place, this is my place. I can't really have that because I'm serving the Republic kind of deal. And of course, that's the classic hero's journey, right? The hero has to give up the normal, quote unquote, normal life that they want for something more extraordinary. So even, Rex has like a hero's journey arc. But now that's over, right? He doesn't have that tie to the Republic anymore. He doesn't have that obligation, that responsibility to carry out, his military position anymore. So really, what is he doing right now? Is he, going out and trying to live the life that he feels that he sacrificed for the Republic now that the Republic is over and all of his friends are basically like gone? Or is he, helping clones? Is he, I mean, we're going to get the answers later in the season because we know we're going to meet Rex at some point. But I really would love for them to kind of address, I mean, having the Cut appear is already a callback to that episode. I would love for them to address kind of really how Rex is feeling right now without that purpose that kept him from doing so many other things. I'm assuming we'll get there eventually. But I think I would have loved to hear just a little bit more about what Rex is up to.
I know.
Because I'm foaming at the mouth for news on him.
I also wonder if they're just so scared of introducing Rex only for him to take over the show like he did in Rebels for a while too. It's using these. I also, to be completely honest, don't he's going to be with Ahsoka, and dude, it's kind of getting to the point of Saw Gerrera where I'm like, all right, I've got enough of Ahsoka's story. Can I get somebody else? I love Ahsoka, no hate, but man, there's a lot of Ahsoka going on right now.
Yeah,
same feelings. Same
100%
feelings.
agree with that.
I mean, he might not be with Ahsoka, but I can't imagine that. I don't know why he would not be with Ahsoka.
Right. And how I mean, this is days after Order 66, so they should still be together, at least traveling to somewhere before they up. And that makes me wonder, is this going to be part of like how we track down Wolf and Gregor and there were handfuls of other clones. In canon they say that there were a lot of clones that did defect. Yeah. Are we gonna get to see this? I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, in going back to the Kanan comic, one of my favorite moments in that comic is when I think it's Gray or Styles, one of the two, has like a moment where they're like, "Why are we chasing this kid? Why are we doing this? We shouldn't be doing this." And he like overrides his chip and like, spoiler alert for the Kanan comic, but he like blows up the ship to save Kanan. Like he kills himself and all the other clones on board just to save him. So there's an active resistance against the chip in some clones. I would love to see that explored more. And I think Dave Filoni added Kanan to Bad Batch to kind of create a bridge between Clone Wars and Rebels. Now that there isn't probably going to be an animated Rebels sequel, I guess the animated trilogy will be Clone Wars, Bad Batch, and Rebels. So we have Kanan. We'll probably have Gregor and Wolf. We'll be setting up for where we see everybody in Rebels. And I honestly think that's probably the biggest reason why he decided to do the Kanan override and all that, just to give the show more continuity.
Yeah.
Taking away continuity to give it more continuity, but
makes sense. But yeah, I think with all the stuff you just said, I think they're absolutely building towards a clone rebellion of some sort. But it's just interesting how, like you said earlier, Matt, how the three of them, Gregor, Rex, and Wolf, how they're so peacefully living on the planet that we forget the name of, with the Empire not really caring. Like, it seems like they know they're there maybe, but they just don't care.
But they don't care. And it's like, that is very uncharacteristic of the Empire.
Well, and we find out that Wolf is still kind of a rule follower. I wonder if they've been instrumental in assisting the Empire in the past. So there's a value added to them where it's like, well, they've reported this or they've done that. So, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All I know is I'm excited to see the Clone Rebellion led by Omega Starkiller.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Love it. Good stuff.
No, that thought like crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Like, on like our opening takes of this, and like Matt's talking about his theories and whatnot of who she a clone of. Like, I almost said like a hot take like that, but I was like, I don't. No, there's no need for a hot take like that. We'll find out when it happens.
Yeah. Anything's possible at this
That'd
point.
be something. AJ, let's. Oh, go ahead.
No, go on. Go for it.
I was gonna tell AJ to do his hot end take, but you have more to say. So
Yeah, the last thing I do want to say is Crosshair and kind of what he's going to go through, and we find out that those elite troopers are conscripts.
Yeah.
Oh.
What is conscripts?
Conscripts.
They're not
conscripted.
actually clones. Yeah, conscripted. They're not clones in that armor, and I'm really curious to find out if maybe he's given that squad and their inability to perform because they're not clones is something that kind of plays a part of him returning back to his normal state of like, what am I doing? Like, what am I a part of? Because those elite clones, I think, are going to be a big part of it. I also think we're going to see those types of clones in the Kobe series, tracking down deserters, missing Jedi. I think that they're going to reuse this sort of clone model a lot in the future. And I wonder if we're going to start to see things like, Commander Cody roll out and kind of have his own squad.
Yeah.
And so I'm really interested to see where they go with this. And I hope they show us.
Yeah. By talking,
that's another thing about Cody,
a couple.
I bet he'll appear at some point.
Well, according to our friend Corey, who we had on a couple weeks ago, obviously Michael knows him well. He thinks Cody will appear in probably both series. So
Corey's got some interesting. I have to be careful what I say. Not to offend Corey. Corey has some interesting people on the inside who are mutuals. So yeah. I won't say anything more.
We can leave it at that. We can leave it at that.
Yeah.
We don't do the leaks. We don't do the leaks or too many spoilers and whatnot. So
Same.
Yeah. I mean, Matt lives on Reddit. I can't speak for him, but other than that, like that's not my division.
So you're the one, Matt.
Yeah, I'm the one. I'm the troublemaker.
Can you say some good things about me?
Yes, always.
So I do have my question, and if you have to pick one, who do you pick?
No.
Or you
die?
No. You pick one to keep.
To live? That's even worse.
This is. I don't know how to start this question. You're
Ask
picking
it,
one,
and then we'll go back.
Okay, Omega or Grogu?
Oh.
Omega.
I'm actually really liking Omega right now. Yeah, I'm gonna go with
four
Omega
Omegas.
I liked Omega from the start. Look, I wasn't a huge fan of Grogu from the very beginning. Like, I didn't buy any Grogu merch, honestly, until like season 2. I mean, there wasn't any merch until like after a year since the show aired. But like, I wasn't a huge fan of it from the beginning because I was like, whatever. Like, I don't find babies cute.
Wow.
I mean, like, I'll like, be like, oh yeah, it's adorable, but like, I'm not a big little kids. Hey, I'm not a big little kids person, and so I was like,
Jamie,
that's probably the root of why.
Is this not your hat?
That is my hat. That was the first piece of Baby Yoda merch that I bought, or that you bought, that I had. So like, and then that's the second one. This one back here.
Oh yeah, with the hunter headband.
Yeah,
I love that.
He's ready today. Ready to go.
He's in disguise.
Do you think they squeeze Grogu into the series at some point? I really think they do.
Really?
I think it'll be a fun bridge. Like, I don't like them pulling characters from other shows that much. I think it's just like such an overused thing. But I feel like for Grogu at least, we know obviously he survived because he's in the Mandalorian. We would like to know how he survived, and so like that was
I think they're going to show him being rescued from the Jedi Temple. I don't think that.
I think he's already been rescued at this point. Yeah.
Maybe they'll just like move him, or they'll run into someone who's moving him, and like that's it. And they'll be like, "Oh, this is
guard Mace Windu carrying."
There we go.
It's Mace.
Oh God.
No.
It's always been.
Honestly,
Mace.
Would you be upset if it was? If Mace Windu and Grogu shot Bad Batch, how would you feel?
Dude, I'm probably gonna eat these. I'm gonna eat these words, but I've been against Mace's return from like day one. As soon as it happens, I'm probably gonna be like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm always on board after a while when they do things that I disagree with. Like so
Palpatine.
Like Palpatine's return and whatnot. I'll be like, all right, whatever. So I'll get on board. But right now it's like, oh my God, does everybody have to to come back?
Yeah.
You know.
The answer is yes. Everybody does.
Everyone does.
Okay, sure. Yeah. You kind of open Pandora's box when you do it with Palpatine and everybody else. So I guess
Luke even told us no one's ever really gone, and that was literally just Disney's era Star Wars saying, "Heads up, guys, bringing the whole gang back."
Are you collecting those figures now too, like in multiple quantities?
I have 7 of them now.
Your army
up to 7.
I'm in a little bit of trouble. I can't stop. I don't like Hasbro. I don't know if you know my feelings on it.
Oh, really?
It's like an addiction at this point, and I brought them in my pocket today. They're my pocket clones for today. So at the errand store, and they're going to go with me to Home Depot. And I don't know what happened. Hello, it's me now.
I get it. Yeah, I understand that.
35 of those 332nd figures, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Ooh, what was that?
I'm okay.
I heard it on the ceiling.
Xbox controller. It's all good. Just flung over the edge of the table. Right.
Hasbro.
We talked about Hasbro. Jamie starts throwing stuff.
We haven't talked about pod racing.
That's very on brand for me to start throwing stuff, talking about Hasbro.
Yeah.
So Fun fact, my tragic backstory, I interned at Hasbro for like a semester one winter when it was like really, really snowy here. And so I only went like 5 times. And so it got to the point they were like, who are you? And I'm like, so.
Hey, you could have taken over the Black Series operation there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
Opportunity.
Yeah. Missed opportunity.
Did you guys already talk about what you bought on May the 4th? Because it was only a buying day. There was like no Star Wars news.
I know.
What did I buy?
AJ, what did you buy?
I bought on Disney Shop. I bought 2 coffee mug.
Yep.
I really like that with Kylo and Rey on it. What else? We bought some pins from some small business
Small
things.
vendors.
Yeah.
That's like our like big thing is getting the enamel pens.
Did I get any figures? I didn't love any
you
of the
bought
reveals.
You bought Hunter and you already have him.
Yeah,
So,
but
like,
he
that
wasn't
was a
like
May
new.
4th
There was
thing.
like a restock, and he came pretty quick. So
Yeah.
with this wacky animated armor. But.
So wacky. It is. Man, Hot Toys and Sideshow brought the heat. I am so excited for that animated scale line. That is going to be. Are you going to buy them?
I don't. When they started like unveiling like all the things, I remember seeing the one of the blurg with Mando first. I remember seeing that one, and like I saw the blurg alone, and I'm like, AJ, should we start collecting Hot Toys for the blurg
Just
alone?
the blurg.
Like I don't. I just want the blurg. I don't know why.
Just blurg alone. You can.
The first hot toy I would have to get would have to be the Kylo one, and I think
announced.
Yeah, that just went up, and it looks like amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that to pay that much, I would have to get that, and then we get the blurg.
It makes it easy when you do the monthly payments. Trust me, it gets painfully easy.
Oh no, too easy. In fact,
we haven't crossed that bridge yet. I don't know if we're going to get there yet. So
3 months from now,
I'd be living through you guys in terms of Hot Toys, because I have no space for Hot Toys. I collect all the 3 3/4 inch figures because I hate myself. So
look, I'm looking at empty wall space behind you. There is plenly of shelf space.
Yeah, I could just put shelves on here. I hung up a poster the other day. That looks good. Well, that's great. Lovely background.
Oh no, yeah. It was tough picking out a background today. I'm not gonna lie, because like I wish I had like more clone related stuff. Like I ended up just picking out my Jedi gauntlets instead because I was like, I don't know what to like show off. So I was like, well,
I went with the cutouts, and then
I do it with the cutouts, which keep like scaring the crap out of me every time I walk downstairs. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you'll get used to them eventually.
Yeah.
Alongside your life-size 3D printed battle droid that you're definitely going to do. Like,
I want him.
We all need one of that.
You do.
Yes.
We all need one of that.
You've got CB23 hiding back there.
Yeah,
on
she's
there. She is.
She's chilling.
She is.
She's just chilling. The Galaxy's Edge one. Anyway. Yeah.
So what did you buy, Michael? Did you say?
All of it.
All of it.
Everything Sideshow announced, actually minus the blurg, because I was just like, why?
God damn it.
You could have bought 6.
Can I tell you something? I have, between the ones I have and the ones I have on order, there's over 60 Hot Toys figures in my collection right now, which is just insane. I actually ended up selling a bunch of stuff because I'm just like, I'm not going to buy new stuff without selling old stuff. So it's now my collection is just recycling itself, which is really cool. It's self-sustaining.
There you go.
But I was like, I just moved recently and I just don't have the room. And so I had to pass on the blurg, but I definitely got the Echo. I got signed up for the Obi-Wan, the Anakin. They did a Rebels Ahsoka statue, snagged that. The Grievous, they did scale Grievous, snagged that. So I'm gonna have to sell a lot more stuff before it arrives. But I was basically Hot Toys and Sideshow, everything that they had. Sans the blurg, but I'm sure the blurg will show up at some point.
Eventually.
No love for the blurgs, absolutely none. This is it. We're done. End of podcast.
I love the blurgs. I actually made a custom mini Lego blurg. I really did, and I have them riding with a trooper on top. I do love the blurgs, but that thing, if you look at the 6 scale, that thing sits about this tall.
Yeah,
and so on top, it's about
really big display.
Blurgs are big.
Put that on the coffee table.
Yep, right in the middle.
Centerpiece of Thanksgiving. Come on.
No.
Blurg's giving.
I have
blurg is served.
I have the Mythos Darth Maul and Saj Ventress statues, which are like well over 2 feet tall. And I can't
Right.
even take it out of the box right now because I literally do not have the room for it. So
So you,
I've got to
Yeah.
make some decisions here, and I might have to get rid of some wedding photos and
yeah.
You're gonna get
Can't
killed for
Can't
that.
take those to Home Depot with you. Unfortunately, can't pocket
Right.
those.
anyways, yeah, got to make some sacrifices.
Okay.
It's all about sacrifice.
Hey, you
I'm
asked me
sorry.
to come on.
I'm just imagining like you walking around with like the sideshow like display like around Home Depot and just like looking at the stuff and like Darth Maul.
Yeah,
Is just,
can you post a picture of you at Home Depot with the clones
Absolutely.
and then tag
I'll put
us
them
as a
in-
teaser?
I'll put them in the tool section, the hardware.
Yes.
Oh no! All right, are we done? AJ,
We're
AJ,
done.
Anything else?
We're done here.
We're done.
Jamie, I thought I was on good behavior.
You were,
You
you were
are.
very well behaved.
That was
You
a
were
good way to end. That was a
It
good
was.
way
It was
to end.
perfect.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, here we go. So I'll do my quick little wrap up bit. So thank you guys so much for listening to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. I want to thank our guest Michael from Rexing Around so much for joining us. Michael, where can we find you on social media?
Thank you for having me. You can find me anywhere at Insta Daniel Logan. You can also find me on Facebook at Daniel Logan. I'm kidding. I'm Rexing around everywhere. Thanks for having me.
Of
This
course.
was so fun. I'm
Oh my
honored.
gosh, we loved having you.
Yeah, this was a
and
blast.
then also thank you, AJ and Matt, for doing the show as we always do. My name has been Jamie. And then also I want to remind everyone that for the month of May, we're doing a fundraiser for the Peter Mayhew Foundation. If you want to learn more information about that and find our direct link, please just go to our website, holonetmarauders.com, and click on the May the 4th fundraiser tab. You can find everything there. And then we are HoloNet Marauders everywhere on social media. Thank you so much for listening to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. Awesome.
Yeah.